Sarah Bennett stood in her kitchen staring at the pot on the stove. One pot, one meal, 3 people. The soup inside was thin. She could see the bottom of the pot through the watery broth. A few pieces of potato floated on top, some carrots, one chicken bone she'd already boiled twice before. This was all the food left in her house. Her daughter Emma, age 7, sat at the kitchen table doing homework. Her son David, age 5, played with a toy car on the floor. Neither of them knew that this soup was supposed to last them 3 days. Sarah didn't know how she would make it stretch that long, but she had to try. Outside, the Missouri winter wind howled against the windows. Snow fell in thick sheets. The temperature had dropped to 15 degrees. Sarah could see her breath inside her own kitchen because she'd turned off the heat 2 days ago to save money. The electricity would go next. Then they'd lose the house. The eviction notice on her front door said she had 7 days. That was 4 days ago. Now she had 3 days left. 3 days to come up with $1,200. She might as well need $12 million. Sarah stirred the soup slowly. She counted the pieces of potato, 6 small chunks. She could give Emma 2 pieces, David 2 pieces, and she would take 2 pieces. They would split the carrots the same way. She would drink only the broth and let the kids have the vegetables. "Mama, I'm hungry," David said from the floor. "Soon, baby," Sarah said. "The soup needs a few more minutes." She was lying. The soup was ready, but if she served it now, they would finish it in 10 minutes. Then what? Then the long, empty night. Then tomorrow with no breakfast. Then another day of watching her children's faces grow thinner. Her husband had died 9 months ago, a heart attack at age 34. No warning, no insurance, no savings. The medical bills came first, then the funeral costs, then the mortgage she couldn't pay alone. Sarah had worked as a waitress, but the diner closed 3 months ago. She'd applied for 47 jobs since then. She'd gotten 3 interviews, 0 offers. She was trapped, drowning, disappearing, and nobody cared. That's when someone knocked on the front door. Sarah froze. Her first thought was the landlord. He'd come early to throw them out. She looked at Emma and David. Both children looked up at the sound. "Stay here," Sarah said quietly. She walked through the small living room to the front door. Through the window, she could see a figure on her porch. It wasn't the landlord. This person was younger, thinner, hunched over against the cold. Sarah opened the door a crack. A young man stood there in the snow. He wore a thin jacket that was soaked through, no gloves, no hat. His dark hair was plastered to his head. His face was pale. His lips were blue. "Please," the man said. His voice shook. "I need help." Sarah's hand tightened on the doorknob. She knew she should be afraid, a stranger, a man, alone with her children, but something about his eyes stopped her from closing the door. His eyes looked desperate, hollow, dying. "What kind of help?" Sarah asked. "Food," the man whispered. "Anything. I haven't eaten in 5 days." 5 days. The words hit Sarah like a punch. She'd been worried about stretching 1 pot of soup for 3 days. This man hadn't eaten in 5. "I'm sorry," the man said. "I shouldn't have bothered you. I can see you don't have much either." He was looking past her into the house. Sarah realized what he was seeing: the bare walls, the empty living room, the cold air coming from inside that proved she had no heat. This stranger could tell she was poor, too. "Wait," Sarah said. The man stopped turning away. He looked at her with those hulled eyes. Sarah thought about the soup on the stove. 1 pot, 3 people. Now this stranger made 4. If she fed him, there wouldn't be enough. Emma would go to bed hungry. David would cry. Sarah herself would have nothing but a few sips of broth. But this man was dying. She could see it in his face. Whatever had brought him to her door in a snowstorm, whatever series of disasters had led him to beg for food from a house that was clearly falling apart, he was at the end. If she turned him away, he might die in the snow tonight. Sarah made her decision. "Come inside," she said. The man blinked. "What?" "Come inside before you freeze to death." The man stumbled through the door. Sarah closed it behind him. He stood in her living room dripping melted snow onto the carpet. His whole body shook. Emma appeared in the kitchen doorway. "Mama, who is that?" "A friend," Sarah said. "Go sit with your brother." Emma stared at the stranger for a moment, then disappeared back into the kitchen. She heard her whisper to David. Then both children went quiet. "Sit down," Sarah told the man. He sat on the edge of her worn couch. Water pooled under his feet. He wrapped his arms around himself. Sarah grabbed a blanket from the closet and handed it to him. It was thin and old, but it was all she had. "Thank you," the man said. His teeth chattered. "Thank you so much." "What's your name?" Sarah asked. Michael Chen." "I'm Sarah Bennett. That's Emma and David in the kitchen, my children." Michael nodded. He pulled the blanket tighter around his shoulders. "Wait here," Sarah said. She walked back to the kitchen. Emma and David both looked up at her with wide eyes. "Is that man bad?" David whispered. "No, baby. He's just hungry and cold like us." "Are you going to give him our soup?" Emma asked. Sarah's heart cracked. Her 7-year-old daughter had already learned to worry about having enough food. No child should have to think like that. "Yes," Sarah said. "We're going to share." "But Mama." "We're going to share," Sarah repeated. "That's what good people do." She picked up the pot from the stove. It felt light in her hands. She carried it into the living room and set it on the coffee table in front of Michael. "I don't have much, but you can have some." Michael stared at the pot. Then he looked up at Sarah. Tears filled his eyes. "You're giving me your food?" "Yes, but you don't have enough for yourself. I can see that. Your kids are hungry too." "My kids will be fine," Sarah lied. "You need it more right now." Michael looked back at the pot. Steam rose from the watery soup. Sarah could see him counting the pieces of vegetables just like she had. "I can't take this from your children." "You're not taking it. I'm giving it." "Why?" The question hung in the air. Sarah didn't have a good answer. Any logical person would have turned Michael away. She was barely surviving herself. She had 2 children depending on her. She had an eviction notice on her front door and $3 in her bank account. Giving away her food made no sense. But Sarah thought about her husband. She thought about the day he died, how the neighbors had brought casseroles, how strangers at the funeral had pressed $20 bills into her hand, how the diner owner had given her 2 weeks of extra pay she hadn't earned. People had been kind to her when she was at the bottom. Now it was her turn. "Because you knocked on my door," Sarah said simply. "Because I can help. Because that's what we do." Michael stared at her for a long moment. Then he picked up the pot. Sarah handed him a spoon. He took a bite of soup, then another, then another. Sarah watched him eat. Each bite he took was a bite her children wouldn't have. She felt sick. She felt scared. She felt like she'd just made the worst decision of her life. But she also felt something else, something she hadn't felt in months. She felt human. Michael ate slowly. He didn't take much, only about a third of the pot. Then he set it down. "That's enough," he said. "Save the rest for your kids. You should eat more." "No, I feel better now. That's enough to get me through." Michael stood up. He folded the blanket and set it on the couch. He walked to the door and Sarah followed. "Where will you go?" Sarah asked. "I'll find somewhere," Michael said. "Maybe the shelter downtown." Sarah knew the shelter. It closed at 8 o'clock. It was almost 9 now. Michael had nowhere to go. "You can stay here tonight," Sarah said. "The couch isn't comfortable, but it's warm." "I can't do that." "Yes, you can. You'll freeze if you go back out there." Michael looked at the door, then back at Sarah, then at the thin pot of soup on the coffee table that had saved his life. "I won't forget this," he said quietly. "I promise you, Sarah Bennett. I will never forget what you did tonight." "You don't owe me anything," Sarah said. "Just stay safe." Michael lay down on the couch. Sarah brought him a second blanket. Within minutes, he was asleep. Sarah went back to the kitchen. Emma and David sat at the table waiting. The pot of soup sat between them. It was barely half full now. "Is there enough for us?" Emma asked. Sarah looked at what remained. 4 pieces of potato instead of 6, 3 pieces of carrot instead of 6, thin broth. "Yes," she lied again, "there's plenty." She served her children, small portions, tiny pieces. They ate without complaining. When they finished, they were still hungry, Sarah could tell, but they didn't ask for more because they knew there wasn't any. David went to bed first, then Emma. Sarah tucked them both in and kissed their foreheads. "I love you, Mama," Emma whispered. "I love you too, sweetheart. Was it okay, what we did?" "What do you mean?" "Sharing our food with that man." Sarah smoothed Emma's hair. "Yes, baby, it was the right thing to do. Even though we're hungry too? Even though." Emma closed her eyes. Sarah watched her daughter fall asleep. Then she went back to the living room. Michael was still sleeping on the couch. His breathing was steady now. The color had returned to his face. Sarah sat in the chair across from him. She thought about tomorrow, about the empty refrigerator, about the eviction notice, about the impossible situation she was in. She'd just made it worse by giving away their food, but somehow she didn't regret it. Sarah fell asleep in the chair. When she woke up, the morning sun was streaming through the windows. Michael was gone. The blankets were folded neatly on the couch. The soup pot had been washed and placed on the kitchen counter, and on the coffee table sat a piece of paper. Sarah picked it up. Written in neat handwriting were 4 words: "I will come back." Below that was a name, Michael Chen, and an address in California. Sarah stared at the paper for a long time. Then she folded it and put it in her pocket. She didn't believe she would ever see Michael Chen again. She had no idea that 7 years later, that piece of paper would change everything. But first, she had to survive the next 3 days. 7 years passed. Sarah Bennett stood behind the counter at Pete's gas station on Highway 44. It was 11 o'clock at night. Her feet hurt, her back ached. She had 3 more hours left on her shift. This was her second job. During the day, she cleaned houses. At night, she worked at the gas station. On weekends, she did laundry at the hospital. 3 jobs, 90 hours a week, just enough to keep her family alive. Emma was 14 now. David was 12. They'd survived, barely, but they'd made it. Sarah hadn't lost the house 7 years ago. At the last possible moment, her sister had sent money, $500. It wasn't enough to cover the full eviction, but the landlord had accepted it as a payment. He'd given Sarah 2 more weeks. Those 2 weeks had turned into months, then years. Sarah always paid late. She was always behind, but she paid enough to stay. The house was falling apart now. The roof leaked. The heater only worked in 2 rooms, but it was theirs. Sarah wiped down the counter for the 100th time that night. The gas station was empty. It usually was this late. Most people in Springfield were asleep by now. She thought about her kids at home. Emma was probably still awake doing homework. David was probably asleep with his headphones on listening to music. Sarah wouldn't see them until morning. She worked nights so she could clean houses during the day while they were at school. She almost never saw her children anymore. That was the price of survival. The bell above the door chimed. Sarah looked up. A man walked into the gas station. He wore an expensive suit, dark gray, perfectly fitted. His shoes were shiny. His watch caught the light. Sarah immediately knew this man wasn't from Springfield. People here didn't dress like that. This was a small town. Jeans and work boots, flannel shirts, practical clothes. This man looked like he walked out of a magazine. "Good evening," the man said. His voice was warm, confident. "Is Sarah Bennett working tonight?" Sarah froze. Nobody ever asked for her by name. Customers came in for gas and cigarettes and lottery tickets. They didn't ask for employees. "I'm Sarah Bennett. Can I help you?" The man stepped closer to the counter. The fluorescent lights fell across his face. Sarah saw dark hair, kind eyes, a gentle smile. Something about him looked familiar. "You don't remember me," the man said. "It's okay. It's been a long time." Sarah stared at him. She searched her memory. Had she cleaned this man's house? Had he been a customer somewhere? Had she gone to school with him? "I'm sorry, I don't—" 7 years ago, the man interrupted. "A snowstorm. You opened your door to a stranger. You gave me your last meal even though you had nothing. You let me sleep on your couch." Sarah's heart stopped. Michael? The man smiled. Michael Chen, yes. Sarah couldn't breathe. She gripped the edge of the counter. The thin young man who'd nearly frozen to death on her porch 7 years ago was standing in front of her now, but he looked completely different. Healthy, strong, successful, rich. I told you I would come back, Michael said. I didn't think. Sarah couldn't finish the sentence. She'd forgotten about Michael years ago. Life had been too hard to think about anything except surviving each day. You saved my life that night, Michael said. I was at the end. I'd lost everything. My business had failed. I'd lost my apartment. I was living in my car. Then my car broke down in your town. I spent 3 days trying to find work, trying to find help. Nobody would even look at me. Sarah listened to the night. She remembered that night, the thin soup, the hard decision, the stranger's hollow eyes. I walked through your neighborhood knocking on doors, 23 doors. Everyone turned me away. Some people were kind about it, most weren't. Then I got to your house, number 24, and you opened the door. You were dying, Sarah said quietly. I was, and you fed me anyway, even though you could see you barely had enough for yourself. Even though you had 2 small children to feed, you gave me your food. It was just soup, Sarah said. It was everything, Michael said. That soup kept me alive. That night on your couch gave me shelter. But more than that, you gave me hope. Sarah felt tears building behind her eyes. She blinked them back. What happened to you after that? Michael asked. I walked to the shelter the next morning. I stayed there for 2 weeks. I got a job washing dishes at a restaurant. I saved every penny, then I bought a bus ticket to California. I had your address, the one I left on that paper. I still have that paper, Sarah said. She'd kept it in a drawer for years. She didn't know why. Maybe because it reminded her that she'd done something good once, something that mattered. I started over in California, Michael said. I got a job at a tech company, just answering phones at first. But I worked hard. I learned everything I could. I built connections, I took risks, and I got lucky. Michael pulled out his wallet. He handed Sarah a business card. It was heavy, expensive, embossed letters. Michael Chen, CEO, Chen Technologies. I built a company, Michael said. Software development. We started small, 3 employees in a garage. Now we have offices in 12 countries, 800 employees. Last year, we did $200 million in revenue. Sarah stared at the business card. Her hands shook. $200 million. She couldn't even imagine that much money. That's amazing, she whispered. And I never forgot you, Michael said. Every time I signed a new contract, every time we opened a new office, every time I looked at my bank account, I thought about you, the woman who saved my life when I had nothing. You don't owe me anything, Sarah said. Just stay safe. You owe me everything, Michael corrected. And now I'm here to pay you back. Sarah's stomach twisted. She didn't like where the—
You don't have to work 3 jobs anymore, he said quietly. You don't have to choose between fixing the roof and buying groceries. You don't have to be afraid. Sarah looked up at him. Why are you really doing this? I told you, because you saved me. But it's too much. Nobody gives away this much money. Michael smiled. You did. When you gave me that soup, you were giving me 30% of everything you owned. If you calculate it proportionally, I'm actually giving you less than you gave me. Sarah had never thought about it that way, but he was right. That soup had been a huge percentage of everything she had. She'd given it anyway. There's one condition, Michael said. Sarah's heart sank. There it was, the catch. Nothing in life was ever free. What condition? You have to keep doing what you did that night, Michael said. When someone shows up at your door and needs help, you help them. You don't have to give them $1 million, but you give them something. Food, shelter, a kind word, whatever they need that you can give. Sarah wiped her eyes. That's the condition? That's it. Keep being the person you were. Keep being kind. Keep being generous. Keep proving that good people exist." "I can do that," Sarah whispered. "I know you can. That's why I chose you." Michael picked up his briefcase. He headed toward the door. Then he stopped and turned back. "One more thing," he said. "You're going to quit all 3 of your jobs tomorrow. You're going to go home and sleep for as long as you want. Then you're going to wake up and have breakfast with your kids. And you're going to start living instead of just surviving." "Michael," "Thank you, Sarah Bennett, for the soup, for the couch, for showing me that the world still has good people in it. You changed my life. Now let me change yours." He walked out of the gas station. Sarah heard a car start, expensive engine. Then he drove away. Sarah sat behind the counter holding the folder. She looked at the papers again. They were real. The signatures were real. The bank account numbers were real. Her house was paid off. Her kids had college funds. She had $1 million. Sarah started laughing, then crying, then laughing again. The night manager came out from the back room. "You okay, Sarah?" "I quit," Sarah said. "What?" "I quit. Right now. I'm done. I'm going home." She grabbed her purse. She left the folder on the counter for a moment, then grabbed it and held it against her chest like it might disappear. She walked out of the gas station into the cold Missouri night. It was midnight. She should have been exhausted, but she felt wide awake, alive, free. She drove home. She pulled into her driveway. She looked at her house, her paid-off house. No more mortgage, no more fear. She walked inside. Emma was still awake in her room. Sarah knocked on the door. "Mama?" Emma opened the door. "Why are you home early?" "I quit my job," Sarah said. "What? Why?" "Because something wonderful just happened. Get your brother. I need to tell you both something." Emma woke up David. They all sat on Sarah's bed, the same bed where they'd cried together 7 years ago, the same bed where they'd held each other through the worst times of their lives. "Do you remember the man who came to our door that winter? The stranger I gave soup to?" "The cold man?" David asked. "Yes, he came back tonight." Sarah told them everything. About Michael, about his company, about the house, about the college funds, about the $1 million. Emma and David stared at her in silence. "Is this real?" Emma finally whispered. "It's real. We don't have to move. We never have to move. This house is ours. You don't have to work at night anymore? I don't have to work at all if I don't want to." David burst into tears. Then Emma, then Sarah. They held each other and cried. 7 years of fear washed away in one moment. "I told you it was the right thing to do," Sarah said through her tears. "I told you sharing was right." "You were right, Mama," Emma said. "You were right." They stayed up all night talking, making plans, dreaming. For the first time in 7 years, they dreamed about the future instead of just worrying about tomorrow. When the sun came up, Sarah made breakfast. Real breakfast. Eggs, bacon, toast. She went to the store and bought everything she wanted without checking prices. It felt like a dream. That afternoon, her phone rang. Unknown number. Sarah answered. "Mrs. Bennett?" A woman's voice. Professional. Cold. "Yes?" "This is Amanda Pierce from Chen Technologies. I'm Mr. Chen's executive assistant. He asked me to call you." "Is everything okay?" Sarah's heart raced. Had Michael changed his mind? Had this all been a mistake? "Everything is fine, but there's something Mr. Chen didn't mention last night, something he wanted you to know before you accepted his gift." Sarah's hands went cold. Here it comes, the real catch, the thing that would take it all away. "What is it?" Sarah asked. "Mr. Chen is dying," Amanda said. "He has 6 months to live, maybe less." Sarah dropped the phone. She picked it up with shaking hands. "What did you say?" "Mr. Chen has stage 4 pancreatic cancer," Amanda Pierce said. Her voice was still professional, still cold, like she was reading a grocery list instead of delivering a death sentence. Sarah sat down on her couch, the same couch where Michael had slept 7 years ago. "Why didn't he tell me?" Sarah asked. He didn't want me to refuse your gift out of pity. He wanted you to accept it because you deserve it, not because you feel sorry for him." "But he's dying," Sarah whispered. "Yes, and he's spending his last months giving away everything he built, to the people who helped him, to the people who showed him humanity when he had nothing." Sarah's mind raced. How many people is he doing this for? "You're the 7th. There are 3 more after you. Mr. Chen made a list years ago. Everyone who helped him when he was homeless, everyone who gave him a chance, everyone who treated him like a human being instead of trash. That's why he came now, because he's running out of time." Yes. Sarah thought about Michael walking into the gas station last night, his smile, his kindness, his certainty that he was doing the right thing. He'd been dying the whole time, and he hadn't said a word. "Where is he now?" Sarah asked. "He's at the Hilton downtown, room 412. He's resting." "I need to see him." "Mrs. Bennett, Mr. Chen was very clear. He doesn't want gratitude, he doesn't want tears, he doesn't want you to feel obligated to—" "I don't care what he wants," Sarah interrupted. "He came all the way to Springfield to find me. The least I can do is visit him. Tell him I'm coming." She hung up before Amanda could argue. Sarah grabbed her keys, she told Emma she'd be back soon, then she drove to the Hilton. It was the nicest hotel in Springfield. Sarah had never been inside before. She couldn't afford places like this. But now she could. Now she had $1 million in the bank. The thought still felt impossible. She walked through the lobby. The carpet was thick. The chandeliers sparkled. She took the elevator to the 4th floor, found room 412, knocked on the door. "Michael?" Opened the door. He looked tired. His skin was a little gray, but he smiled when he saw her. "Sarah, I asked Amanda not to tell you." "She told me anyway. Can I come in?" Michael stepped aside. Sarah walked into the hotel room. It was huge, bigger than her living room. A king bed, a desk, a couch, windows overlooking downtown Springfield. "Why didn't you tell me you were sick?" Sarah asked. Michael closed the door. He walked to the couch and sat down slowly. Sarah could see the pain in his movements now. Last night at the gas station, he'd hidden it well, but now she knew what to look for. "I didn't want to change your decision," Michael said. "If you'd known I was dying, you might have felt obligated to be grateful, to act a certain way, to thank me more than you wanted to. I didn't want that." "You gave me $1 million, Sarah said. "Of course I'm grateful." "I gave you what you deserved. That's different than charity. I didn't want you to feel like I was some dying man giving out pity gifts." "Is that what you're doing? Giving out pity gifts?" "No, I'm balancing the scales. I'm making sure the people who saved me know that their kindness mattered, that it changed a life, that good deeds don't just disappear into nothing." "How many do you really have?" Sarah asked. 3 months, maybe 4. The cancer spread fast. There's nothing the doctors can do now except make me comfortable." "I'm so sorry." "Don't be. I've had a good life, better than I deserved. I built something I'm proud of. I made money, I helped people, I got to see the world, and now I get to spend my last few months doing something meaningful. Giving away your fortune? Giving it to the people that matter. My company will go to my employees, they'll split the ownership. My family back in China will get taken care of, and the rest goes to people like you, people who showed me humanity when I needed it most." Sarah felt tears building again. She wiped them away. "You should be spending this time with your family, not driving around the country tracking down strangers." "You're not a stranger," Sarah said. "You're the reason I made it to California. You're the reason I had the strength to make it over. You're the reason I believed people could be good." "I just gave you soup." "You gave me hope," Michael corrected. "And now—"
They'd like that. They remember you. David still calls you the cold man. Michael laughed. It turned into a cough. He covered his mouth. When he pulled his hand away, Sarah saw blood on his fingers. He wiped it quickly with a tissue. The cancer was eating him from the inside. "Tomorrow at 6, Sarah said, standing up. I'll make pot roast, mashed potatoes, green beans, apple pie. The works." "That sounds perfect." Sarah walked to the door. Then she stopped and turned back. "Michael, thank you, not just for the money, for coming back, for remembering, for proving that kindness creates circles instead of dead ends." "Thank you for opening your door," Michael said. "Not everyone would have." Sarah left the hotel. She drove to the grocery store. She bought everything she needed for tomorrow's dinner. She didn't check a single price. She just put things in her cart. When she got to the register, the total was $147. Sarah paid without flinching. 3 days ago, that amount would have been impossible. Now it was nothing. She drove home and started cooking. She wanted tomorrow's meal to be perfect. She made the pot roast from scratch. She peeled potatoes. She baked the pie herself instead of buying one frozen. Emma and David came into the kitchen. "Who are you cooking for?" Emma asked. "Michael Chen. He's coming tomorrow." "The cold man?" David asked. "Yes, he wants to meet you both. He wants to see who you've become." "But he's rich now," Emma said. "Why does he care about us?" "Because we were kind to him when he had nothing, and he never forgot." Emma looked at the pot roast in the oven, at the potatoes boiling on the stove, at the pie cooling on the counter. "Mama, is he going to ask for his money back? Is that why he's coming?" Sarah stopped stirring. She looked at her daughter. Emma was 14 now, old enough to understand how the world worked, old enough to be suspicious of good things. That broke Sarah's heart a little. "No, baby, he's not taking anything back. He just wants to spend time with us. He's sick. He doesn't have much time left." "Is he dying?" David asked. "Yes." "Is it our fault?" David's voice was small, scared. "Because we took his soup?" Sarah knelt down and hugged her son. "No, honey, absolutely not. He got sick recently. It has nothing to do with us. He just wanted to come back and make sure we knew that what we did mattered." "Did it matter?" Emma asked. "Yes," Sarah said. "It changed his whole life." The next evening, Michael arrived at 6 o'clock exactly. He knocked on the same door where he'd stood 7 years ago. Sarah opened it. This time, the house was warm. The lights were on. Dinner smelled amazing. Michael stepped inside. He looked around. "You fixed the place up." "Just some cleaning. The roof still leaks, but I'll get that fixed next week." "Get a good contractor. Don't cheap out. You have the money now." Sarah laughed. "I'm still getting used to that." Emma and David came into the living room. They stopped when they saw Michael. He looked different than they remembered. Older, thinner, but his smile was the same. "You must be Emma," Michael said. "You were 7 last time I saw you, reading at the kitchen table." "I remember," Emma said quietly. "And David, you were playing with a toy car." "A red one," David said. "That's right, a red one." They all sat down for dinner. Sarah served the pot roast. She piled food on everyone's plates. They ate together at the kitchen table, the same table where Sarah had divided that thin soup 7 years ago. "This is delicious," Michael said. "Better than any restaurant I've been to." "It's just pot roast," Sarah said. "It's made with love. That's what makes it special." They talked during dinner. Michael asked Emma about school. She told him about her classes, her favorite teacher, her dream of becoming a nurse. Michael asked David about his interests. David talked about basketball, music, his friends. They were good kids, smart kids, kind kids. Michael could see Sarah in both of them, the same gentle spirit, the same willingness to see good in people. After dinner, they had pie, then coffee for the adults and milk for the kids. They sat in the living room talking. Time passed quickly. Before Sarah knew it, it was 10 o'clock. "I should go," Michael said. "Let you all get some sleep." "Wait," Emma said. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Why did you really come back?"
I mean, the money is amazing, but you didn't have to come here, especially if you're sick." Michael looked at Sarah's daughter. She was smart, perceptive. She wanted the truth. "I came back because I needed to see you, all of you. I needed to look Sarah in the eye and tell her that her kindness saved me. I needed to meet you and David and see that you turned out okay despite everything. I needed to know that my life meant something, that the circle was complete." "What circle?" David asked. "The circle of kindness. Your mother gave me food when I was starving. That saved my life. I built a business, made money, and now I'm giving that money to her. She'll use it to help you. You'll grow up and help others. They'll help someone else. The circle keeps going, forever. That's what matters. That's what lasts." Emma had tears in her eyes. "You're a good person, Mr. Chen. So is your mother. That's why we found each other." Michael stood up. Sarah walked him to the door. They stepped outside onto the porch, the same porch where Michael had stood dying 7 years ago. "Thank you for dinner," Michael said. "It was exactly what I needed." "Come back anytime," Sarah said. "Tomorrow if you want, every day. You don't have to stay in a hotel. You can stay here." Michael shook his head. "I have 2 more people to visit, one in Texas, one in Florida. I need to finish my list." "When will you be back?" "I don't know if I will be." Sarah felt her chest tighten. "Michael." "It's okay," he said gently. "This was perfect. This was closure. You don't owe me anything more." "I owe you everything." "No, we're even now. Actually, I still owe you, but I'll take that debt with me." Sarah hugged him. He hugged her back. She could feel how thin he was, how weak. The cancer was winning. "Don't forget us," Sarah whispered. "Impossible," Michael said. "You're the reason I'm here." He walked to his car, a black Mercedes, expensive. He got in and started the engine. Then he rolled down the window. "Sarah, one more thing." "Yes?" "Keep your door open. When someone needs help, when someone is at the end, be the person you were. Be the person who saves lives." "I will," Sarah promised. Michael drove away. Sarah watched until his taillights disappeared. Then she went back inside. Emma and David were waiting for her. "Is he coming back?" Emma asked. "I don't think so," Sarah said. They sat together in silence. Then David spoke. "Mama, can we help someone like you helped him?" Sarah looked at her son, 12 years old, already thinking about others, already wanting to create his own circle. "Yes, baby, we can help lots of people." "How?" Sarah thought about it. She thought about the $1 million in her bank account, the house that was paid off, the freedom she now had, the opportunity. "I don't know yet," she said, "but we'll figure it out together." That night, Sarah couldn't sleep. She lay in bed thinking about Michael, about his list, about the 7 people before her and the 3 after her. 10 lives changed because of kindness. Her phone rang at 2 in the morning. Sarah grabbed it. Unknown number. Her heart raced. "Hello? Mrs. Bennett?" Amanda Pierce's voice, but different now, shaking, human. "Yes? I'm calling to inform you that Michael Chen passed away tonight at 11:47 p.m. He had a heart attack in his hotel room. The paramedics tried to revive him, but..." She broke. "He's gone." Sarah couldn't breathe. "But I just saw him. He was fine. He was smiling. He ate dinner." "He was in pain all day. He took medication before coming to your house. He wanted that evening to be perfect. He didn't want you to see him suffer." Sarah started crying. Emma heard her and came into the room. Then David. They all cried together. Michael Chen was dead. The man who'd come back to save them. The man who'd remembered. The man who proved that kindness matters. Gone. "There's something else," Amanda said through her own tears. "Before he died, Michael wrote letters, one for each person on his list. Yours arrived by courier. It should be at your door now." Sarah walked to the front door.
There was an envelope taped to it, thick paper, her name written in Michael's handwriting. She opened it with shaking hands. Inside was a letter. She read it out loud so Emma and David could hear. "Dear Sarah, if you're reading this, I'm gone. Don't be sad. I got to do what I wanted. I got to close the circle. I got to see you and your beautiful children. I got to know that my life meant something because of you. You saved me twice, once with soup, once with hope. Now I'm
But first, she had to figure out exactly how to do it, and she had to do it right, because this wasn't just about money anymore. This was about saving lives. And Sarah was about to learn that was harder than she ever imagined. 6 months after Michael's death, Sarah sat in her kitchen drinking coffee. It was 7 in the morning. The sun was coming up. The house was quiet. Emma and David were still asleep. Sarah had the whole morning to herself. This was still new, having time, having peace, having the freedom to sit and think without worrying about which bill to pay or which job to rush to. She'd kept her promise to Michael. She'd started helping people. It was harder than she expected. The first person she tried to help was a homeless woman at the grocery store. Sarah had given her $200. The woman took the money and disappeared. Sarah never saw her again. She didn't know if the money helped or hurt. The second person was a single father who couldn't pay his rent. Sarah paid 3 months for him. A week later, she found out he'd spent the money on drugs. His landlord called her screaming. The man got evicted anyway. The third person was a teenager who needed money for college. Sarah paid for her first semester. The girl dropped out after 2 months and never paid Sarah back. Sarah had wanted to help, but she kept choosing wrong. She kept trusting people who weren't ready to be helped, or who used her kindness for the wrong things. It made her angry, then sad, then confused. Was this what Michael wanted? Was this how the circle was supposed to work? Sarah stared at her coffee. She thought about giving up. Maybe she should just keep the money, use it for her own family, stop trying to save strangers who didn't want to be saved. That's when someone knocked on the door. Sarah looked at the clock. 7:15 in the morning, too early for visitors. She walked to the front door and looked through the window. A woman stood on her porch, young, maybe 25. She held a baby in her arms. Behind her stood a little boy, maybe 3 years old. The woman's face was bruised. Her lip was split. She looked terrified. Sarah opened the door. "Please," the woman said. Her voice shook. "I need help. I didn't know where else to go. Your neighbor said you help people. Is that true?" Sarah looked at this woman, at the baby, at the little boy hiding behind his mother's legs. She saw fear in their eyes. Real fear. Dangerous fear. "Come inside," Sarah said. The woman stepped through the door. The little boy followed. Sarah closed the door and locked it. "What's your name?" "Jessica. Jessica Martinez. This is my daughter, Sophia, and my son, Carlos." "I'm Sarah Bennett. Sit down. Are you hungry?" Jessica nodded. She looked like she might cry. Sarah went to the kitchen and made breakfast. Eggs, toast, orange juice. She brought it to the living room. Jessica ate like she hadn't seen food in days. Carlos ate quietly. Sophia nursed. "When did you eat last?" "Yesterday morning, maybe. I don't remember." "Where did you come from?" Jessica's hands shook. "My husband, my ex-husband. He found us 2 days ago. We've been running. He's looking for us. He said he'll kill me if he finds me." Sarah's stomach dropped. This wasn't about money. This was about life and death. "Did you call the police?" "They can't help. He always gets out. He always finds me. I have a restraining order, but it doesn't matter. Paper doesn't stop him." "Where are you trying to go?" "My sister lives in Colorado. She said we could stay with her, but I don't have money for Boss. I don't have money for anything. I've been sleeping in my car with the kids, but the car broke down yesterday. We walked here. I knocked on 6 houses. Everyone turned me away. Then your neighbor, Mrs. Chen, said you might help." Sarah froze. "Mrs. Chen?
Yes, old lady, lives 3 houses down. She said you helped a man years ago. She said you're kind. Sarah didn't know anyone named Mrs. Chen on her street, but the name sent chills down her spine. Michael Chen. Was this a coincidence? A sign? Sarah asked, "How much do you need?" "I don't know, maybe $300 for gas and food? I can pay you back, I promise. My sister will help me. I'll get a job. I'll send you money." Sarah thought about the other people she'd helped, the ones who'd taken her money and disappeared, the ones who'd lied, the ones who'd failed. But this felt different. Jessica wasn't asking for rent or college or drugs. She was running for her life, her children's lives. This was real danger, real need. "You don't have to pay me back," Sarah said. Jessica stared at her. "What?" "I'm going to help you, but not with $300. I'm going to do more than that." Sarah stood up. She went to her bedroom. She came back with her purse. She pulled out a credit card, her new credit card, the one connected to Michael's money. "I'm going to buy you a plane ticket for you and both kids to Colorado today, right now. We'll book it online. You'll be with your sister tonight." Jessica's eyes filled with tears. "I can't ask you to." "You're not asking, I'm offering, and I'm going to give you $5,000 cash. That's enough to start over, to get an apartment, to buy food and diapers and whatever else you need until you get on your feet." "Why would you do this?" Jessica whispered. "Because someone did it for me once, and now it's my turn." She opened her laptop. She booked 3 tickets to Denver. The next flight left at noon, 4 hours from now. She paid with the credit card, $1,200. She didn't even blink. Then she drove to the bank. She withdrew $5,000 in cash. She put it in an envelope. She handed it to Jessica. "This is yours. Use it wisely. Start over. Build a good life for your kids." Jessica held the envelope like it might disappear. "How do I thank you?" "You don't. You just promise me something. When you're safe and stable and your life is better, you help someone else. Someone like you were today. Someone running. Someone scared. Someone at the end. You be for them what I'm being for you. I promise. I swear to God I promise." Sarah drove Jessica and the kids to the airport. She walked them to security. She made sure they had their boarding passes. She watched them go through the metal detector. Jessica turned back and waved. Sarah waved back. Then they were gone. Sarah drove home. Emma and David were awake now. They were eating cereal at the kitchen table. "Where were you?" Emma asked. "Helping someone," Sarah said. She told them about Jessica, about the baby, about the little boy, about the abusive husband, about the plane tickets and the money. "Did you do the right thing?" David asked. "I don't know, honestly. I hope so, but I won't know for sure. That's the hard part about helping people. You never really know if it works." "Michael didn't know either," Emma said. "When he gave you money, he didn't know what you'd do with it. He just trusted you." Sarah looked at her daughter, 14 years old and already understanding how the world worked, how trust worked, how faith worked. "You're right," Sarah said. "He trusted me. Now I have to trust other people." 3 days later, Sarah got a text message from an unknown number. "This is Jessica. We made it to Colorado. My sister picked us up. We're safe. The kids are happy. I got a job interview tomorrow. Thank you for saving our lives. I'll never forget you." Sarah read the message 5 times. Then she showed Emma and David. They all smiled. This one worked. This one mattered. Jessica was safe. 1 person saved, maybe more to come. That night, Sarah made dinner. She was setting the table when someone knocked on the door again. She opened it. A man stood there, old, maybe 70. He wore dirty clothes. He looked tired, hungry, lost. "I'm sorry to bother you, but I heard you might be able to help. I'm trying to get to my daughter's house in Kansas City. I lost my wallet. I haven't eaten in 2 days. Can you spare anything?" Sarah looked at this man. She thought about Michael, about Jessica, about the circle that kept spinning, about doors that opened when they needed to. "Come inside. Let me make you a plate." The man started crying. "Thank you. God bless you. Thank you." Sarah fed him. She gave him money for a bus ticket. She gave him extra for food. She sent him on his way with a full stomach and hope in his eyes. That night, she told Emma and David what happened. "How many people are you going to help?" Emma asked. "I don't know," Sarah said. "As many as I can, as many as come to our door. That's what Michael wanted. That's what I promised." "What if we run out of money?" David asked. "We won't. Michael left us plenty. And even if we did, we'd figure it out. We always do." Over the next few months, more people came to Sarah's door. Word spread through Springfield. The woman who helps people. The woman who saved the running mother. The woman who feeds the hungry. Sarah helped 12 people that year. Some she gave money, some she gave food, some she gave advice or a listening ear. Some she called the police for. Some she drove to shelters. Some she just prayed with. Not all of them turned out well. Some people took her money and disappeared. Some lied. Some came back asking for more and got angry when she said no. But some of them succeeded. Some of them changed their lives. Some of them wrote her letters months later saying thank you, saying they were stable now, saying they'd helped someone else. The circle kept spinning. 1 year after Michael's death, Sarah sat on her porch. It was winter again. Snow fell softly.
7 years ago, Sarah had shared her last meal with a dying stranger. She'd had no idea what would happen. She'd just done what felt right in that moment. She'd opened her door. She'd shared what little she had. She'd shown kindness when she had nothing to give but kindness. And that one decision had changed everything, had saved Michael's life, had brought him back, had given her family a future, had started a circle that would never stop spinning. Sarah thought about all the people who'd knocked on her door since then, all the Jessicas and old men and hungry strangers. She thought about the ones she'd saved and the ones she couldn't save, the ones who'd disappeared and the ones who'd written thank you letters. She thought about Michael's last words, "Keep your door open. Keep being the light in the darkness." That's what she would do for the rest of her life. She would keep her door open. She would help whoever came. She would trust that some of them would succeed and some wouldn't. She would accept that she couldn't save everyone, but she could save someone. And maybe that someone would save someone else, and the circle would keep growing, keep spinning, keep proving that kindness matters, that good deeds don't disappear, that one pot of soup can change the world if you're willing to share it. Sarah stood up. She walked to her front door. She looked at it for a long moment. The same door Michael had knocked on, the same door Jessica had knocked on, the same door that had changed her life twice. She left it unlocked. She always did now, so anyone who needed help could come in, so the circle could keep spinning, so Michael's legacy could live on, because that's what kindness does. It doesn't end, it multiplies, it grows, it creates circles that never stop, and it all starts with one simple choice: to open your door, to share what you have, to help a stranger when you have nothing, to trust that small acts of goodness matter more than you'll ever know. Sarah walked back inside. She closed the door but didn't lock it. She joined her children in the warm kitchen. They ate dinner together. They talked and laughed. They made plans for tomorrow. Outside, the snow kept falling, and somewhere in Springfield, someone else was walking through the cold. Someone hungry, someone lost, someone desperate, someone looking for a door that would open. And when they found Sarah's house, when they knocked on that unlocked door, she would be ready. She would open it. She would share what she had. She would prove that Michael was right. Kindness creates circles, and those circles never end. They just keep spinning forever, touching more lives than you'll ever know, changing the world one opened door at a time. That was the kindness payoff. Not the money, not the gift, but the circle, the endless, beautiful, powerful circle of human beings helping each other, of strangers becoming family, of soup becoming salvation, of one small act of love echoing through time until it touches everyone. That was Michael's real gift.
Not the $1,000,000, but the reminder that goodness matters, that you matter, that your choices change lives, that opening your door to someone in need is never the wrong thing to do. And Sarah Bennett would spend the rest of her life proving it, one stranger at a time, one opened door at a time, one pot of soup at a time. The circle would never stop spinning, and she would make sure of it. The end. Thank you so much for listening to The Kindness Payoff. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button right now. Drop a comment below telling me where you're watching from. I love hearing from listeners all around the world. What did you think about Sarah's choice? About Michael's return? About the circle of kindness? Share your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. And if you haven't watched until the end, you just did. Thank you for staying with this story. Stories like this remind us that small acts of kindness can change everything, that what we do matters, that goodness always finds a way back. Subscribe to the channel if you want more stories about hope, redemption, and the power of human kindness. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a new story. Remember, keep your door open. You never know who might knock. You never know whose life you might save. You never know what circle you might start spinning. Until next time, choose kindness, always.